Good, right? Here we are.
Hey, everybody. Good evening.
And it is 3 days after our home country decided that democracy was an option.
Hey. Freedom of choice.
So let's talk about what it will look like, because y'all moving abroad, right? Y'all moving abroad, right? Like there's there's not a question anymore, correct? I just thank God that we live here in Lisbon, Portugal.
Yes.
I thank God that we live here in Lisbon, Portugal. And we do not have to deal with the day-to-day nonsense, but it will affect us and it will affect the whole world. So let's talk about, we're managing my parents' care and everything else from over here in Lisbon, Portugal, right?
Right.
And my parents live in California. And but I had to manage this both in Colorado and California. And so what I want to tell you is that managing your parents from abroad, first of all, is doable. It's doable.
Yeah, it is.
So do not let aging parents stop you from putting your own mask on first. Do not let your parents stop you from taking care of yourself while you take care of them.
Yeah.
Right. So we are going to. This is a talk that we gave during the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit. So if you were a member or a pass holder of the summit, some of this you've heard, but we have adopted it for Project 2025 since y'all elected Project 2025. So that's
well, not y'all in particular. Some maybe.
When I say y'all, I mean folks, the majority of folks in the United States.
In the U.S. of A.
If this doesn't apply to you,
don't worry about it.
Then it doesn't apply to you. Hey, y'all. So before we get started, my name's Halisi.
And I'm Rick. Welcome to our Black Utopia.
On our channel, we talk about money, we talk about travel, we talk about living abroad. I was going to say as we build generational wealth, but we will see if that is still possible under this new America. However, we do help folks who look like us, who are getting close to retirement age and forgot to plan, get their money straight so that they can retire on time or maybe even early.
Early is always a good thing.
I see you, Greta. I see what you've said. And yeah, this is going to be a state by state thing. But unfortunately, too many of us don't pay attention to state politics and have allowed folks who do not have their best interest at heart get into power. So, number one.
Well, before number one, we want to let them know to make sure your passport is renewed up to date. Your family's passports are renewed up to date. I got a call, or not even a call, I got a text day after the election from my daughter, who I've been preaching to. You need to do this, babe. I even offered to pay for it at one point. And it was always put off, but I'm gonna do it. It even came down to the point she said, when I was talking to her, she said, and don't ask me about if I got my passport yet.
I thought that was her granddaughter.
No, that was my daughter.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, I won't anymore. And she sent me a text the other day. I need what information do I need? And blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. I gave her the information. And that was it. So hopefully, she got it and she'll get her passport. Yeah, make sure your passport is renewed, ready to go. And,
you cannot put on somebody else's gas mask before you put on your own. All right. So number one, after you've gotten your passport or passport renewed, or not after you've gotten your passport, but applied for your passport, or apply to get your passport renewed. You want to prepare financial and medical management arrangements for your parents.
Yes.
Financial. How long did it take me to get my name added to my dad's bank account?
Oh my gosh.
I knew you were going to say, oh my gosh. I knew you were going to say that, right? Like, okay, so these are the things that we don't think about. My father's driver's license had expired because we took the keys away from his butt, right? And did not think about, okay, it's going to expire at some point, and does he have valid ID?
Valid ID. Yeah.
So when we went to his bank and passed over his driver's license, they're like, "Oh, that expired 2 months ago, 3 months ago."
But it's him. He's on the picture. It's a legal document, but they didn't want that. They wanted something valid.
Because if it expires, it's no longer the person that was already verified through the driver's license.
Exactly.
This is the kind of shit we need to fight. However, okay. So then I had to go ahead and make an appointment to get his ID because he was no longer able to drive. So to get his California ID, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we were able, while I was there the last time, or the time before last, I was able to get his California ID. But of course, they don't give it to you on the spot because that's too much like easy, right? That's too much like easy. It's not like we don't have machines that can do that on the spot. But no, let's not do that. Let's go ahead and mail it someplace.
Of course.
Right? And so we got the information and they mailed it. And then it wasn't until the next time that we went back to the United States that now his ID is here. And so now, meantime, in between time, he's losing cognitive abilities. Thankfully, he still knows who I am. So when I say, Daddy, do you want me to handle such and so, he'll say to the bank person, yes, go ahead, whatever she wants. But what if he had declined more than that?
Yeah.
And said, I don't know who she is.
Yeah, it wasn't going to happen. You might have went to jail.
Right? So get that stuff done.
Get it done.
Now. If they're uncomfortable, just like, look, is today or it could be never, right? No one wants to talk about being incapacitated. No one wants to talk about death. But the fact of the matter is that too many times the people who are left on earth are suffering because didn't nobody want to talk about it.
Right.
So ensure the beneficiaries have been added.
Yeah, and make sure they're correct.
And/or, right, if you've already done that. Hire an attorney. We've talked about this. Hire an attorney to create a general power of attorney, medical power of attorney, and/or medical directives. If you are taking them with you out of the country, know that you'll have to replicate that probably in the country
that you're going to.
Okay. Right. So for those of you who attended the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit last week, you know that. And then get online access to all of their bills and set up automatic payments. So that was one of the first things that I did while both of them had like 80 to 90% of their capacity. I got access, even if they were paying their bills on their own, I got access, online access to all of their bills and had all of the passwords and everything else and checked in on a regular basis. One, to make sure that they were paid, and then to their bank to make sure that there was nothing hinky going on. And lo and behold, don't you know, my mom had given out her information to whomever, and they were taking thousands of dollars every single month. every single month, thousands and thousands of dollars. We do not want this for you. Okay. And what we don't want is for you to say, well, I can't move, because we've heard this from clients. We can't move until our parents transition on. Well, can you afford to stay in a country that has said through their voice and their vote that they could not care less about people of color? They could not care less about Black folks specifically. They could not care less about LGBTQ folks, because that's what the vote said. That's what the vote said.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. All right. And so I'm not going to sugarcoat this at all. So welcome to our Thursday short, by the way.
See how short it will be.
Let's see how short it will be. On Thursdays, we do not take questions from the audience and things like that. We answer a specific question that has been asked to us, and we keep it down as short as possible. All right. So we'll go quicker.
The medical portion of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the medical portion of it, get access to their medical portals. You want to be able to go and check and to make sure everything that they need to have done, doctor's appointments, medical records you can access, and everything else, get access to their medical portals.
Yeah. And getting back to hiring an attorney, this is the time where your benefits get renewed, right? October, November, and the early part of December. So now is the time. If you work at a company that has some kind of legal aid, like we paid what, $2 per paycheck or something like that to get into the legal program.
It was real cheap. It was $2 or $3 at the most.
Whatever it was like
employer.
So little that it did not make a difference in our well-being, right? I mean, it was so little. It was too little to even think about. Of course, we're going to do this. And then you can get someone to do the POA and all of this other stuff for free. Even if, like for our program, it also worked for attorneys that were in another state. Mm-hmm. So like my one parent was in another state and I needed to get a POA done there, et cetera, right? Like it worked there and it worked in the state that we were working out of. So check with your HR, check with your bennies, and go ahead and sign up for that legal aid, because you can get all of this, some of this stuff done, for that $4 a month or whatever they're charging you.
A lot of money.
As opposed to $1, $2, $3, $4, even up to $1,000. Establish with the medical practice that you have access to speak with the doctor and or request exams, tests, etc. So for me, I had to actually fax. Yes, in the last couple of years, I've had to fax something up into their system, and they gave me a phone number, a fax number, and all of that. I did it electronically. So I had scanned all of the power of attorneys and all of that stuff into the computer. So whenever anybody asked, I could email it to them, but no, they wanted it faxed. So I had to pay a little money and have it faxed to Kaiser, to whomever your parents' Medicare plus B or Medicaid is through.
Because email, some states sending email is illegal, so they won't let you do it. So it has to be a fax.
Right. Well, the HIPAA laws that exist today, of course, if they start tracking women's menstrual cycles, we'll see what happens to the HIPAA laws. If you're in the same city, go to an appointment before you leave. Go to an appointment with your parents. Talk to their GM, talk to their specialists, so you can build that rapport, so that when you're abroad and you have questions, they already know you, already have that relationship, and folks just respond more quickly to folks that they feel like they have an emotional connection to. All right. Right. So build that. Now, under Project 2025, what will happen to all of this medical? So Because when we gave this talk during the summit, we were like, okay, if Kamala gets elected, she wants to put long-term care under Medicare. Well, she didn't get elected because that's what the people people wanted. I live in Portugal, y'all. All right. So Medicare under Project 2025, which is their game plan on their policy paper, right? The policies that they want to roll out. We always talked about what were the policies for Kamala Harris and Walz, right? And what are the specifics and blah, 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 whoop-de-woo. We didn't really ask that much of the person who got elected. I will not claim him as my president, but he is the president of my home country. So whatever, as of January 20th. And so his folks said that they want to privatize Medicare. Privatize it. So what I assume is that it's going to cost more, even for the Part B and the Part C, which is taken out of Social Security. So expect to have less in your Social Security once they are able to do that. This model often restricts providers' options and limits coverage for some services, and insurers seek to reduce costs. This plan also proposes to repeal the drug price negotiation program. All right. So under the was that in the Inflation Act? Yeah, Inflation Reduction Act. They were able to bring down drug prices for seniors. So insulin was capped at, or was no more than $35. I was about to say euros, y'all, $35 a month. And then the yearly cap was $2,000 a year. Well, they're going to eliminate that. So that means insulin will go back up to $400 a month for Medicare people. And then there's not going to be any cap on the price of drugs. All right. So that's what we can expect if they do what they say they're going to do. And I take people at their word until they prove differently. So all of that will go up. So you need to rethink your budget. If you are helping your parents pay for some of these drugs, you need to rethink your budget and plan accordingly. All right. For Medicaid. So if your parents need long-term care, if you're thinking about putting them in a home, whether that be a nursing home or a group home, as you know, my parents are not in a nursing home. They don't necessarily need physical help.
Right.
They can take long walks and do all of that. It's all here, right? It's all dementia type things, right? And so for that, she and he are in assisted living in California. That is paid for primarily through Medicaid, or in California, they call it Medi-Cal because they want to be cute with it. Whatever, it's Medicaid. It's Medicaid expansion. Now, under Project 2025, it suggests that they will cap federal contributions to state Medicaid programs, which would replace the current model where funding is adjusted based upon actual healthcare costs. This approach could lead to reduced access to long-term care and nursing care for seniors, as states might cut benefits to stay within the capped budgets. Okay. Now, I know that California has taken some measures or are taking measures to fill in the gap. California is richer than some countries. So I'm very, very happy that my parents are in California. If my parents were in Colorado, I would be worried. I would be very worried. So although I do not want to be a resident of California because I don't want to pay those taxes.
But that could also change if they get a Republican governor.
It could change. Yes, if they get a Republican governor or a Republican who's whacked. So, all right. So financially and medically, you want to prepare. Number 2, day-to-day living situation. Can they age in place? So create a plan for your parents on if they want to stay in
If
their
you want to stay
home
in home, yeah.
or not.
Yeah. How much will it cost? Who's going to pay for it? Two important factors.
Right? Find resources now for how you will hire people to help them in their home. Again, had we voted a different way, there was a chance we could get this to be paid through Medicare so that you would not have to lose wealth in your household.
Yeah.
Because right now, as it is in 99% of the states, you have to spin down to poverty level before you get any Medicaid
Any
help.
kind of help. Yeah, and also prepare for 24-hour care.
Right. So, who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay for 24-hour care? If you happen to live in a state that will have Medicaid pay for care, they're never going to pay for 24-hour care. All right, they're never going to pay for that. They will pay for it in a nursing home, but they will not pay that. But they will not pay for that if that person wants to age in place. So you will have to decide. Maybe there's a state out there, but I have not found it. You will have to figure out what's going to happen with that person for at least 5 to 8 hours per day.
Right.
Okay. 5 to 8 hours per day. So are they going to go to adult daycare? Right. And then how much does that cost? So these are the things that you need to think about as you prepare to get out of Dodge and get out of, because WYPPIPO, the white people is going to go crazy. We know that. We know that because now they've got a mandate. Right?
Oh, yeah.
They've got a mandate for racism.
They've
got a mandate for Nazism.
Yeah.
They've got a mandate, y'all. It is
the
on
American
and
people vote
popping.
to let us do what we want to do. They are for our program.
That's right.
That's how we feel right now.
That's right. So assume that that's going to happen, and assume that if you are watching us and you're a person of color, that you are in danger of losing rights, be it day-to-day rights or what have you. Just assume that that's going to happen, and you need to prepare accordingly. I'm sorry. Will they eventually need to go into a home or facility? So with your parents, if they're able to visit facilities and homes, like if you're able to visit facilities and homes right now, while they don't need them, that's the best situation. That's what we did with my dad.
Right.
And my mom. Of course, she thought she was going to go to this nursing home. It's like, just because it was around the corner.
It was around the corner. She just swore up and down. Oh, that's because she looked at it from the outside. I don't think she'd ever been in it.
She had been in it once, like
but
20 years
ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to go. That's where I'm going. And we went and visited it when we were talking about putting your dad in. We were like, yeah, no. She changed her mind real quick on that.
She changed her mind. So you want to go to places and see where they would prefer while they have their wits about them, while they have their health about them. And then also plan for a potential waiting list to some of these places, right? So and like we said, everyone does not need to go into a nursing home. My parents did not need to go into a nursing home because physically they were pretty much fine. Not like 100% fine, but they could do all of the daily functions, eat for themselves, bathe themselves, use a bathroom, some with prompting. And so that's one of the key words, prompting. When you're answering these questionnaires, the question is, can your parents perform daily functions? Or do they need prompting? And prompting means, remember to do this. Did you do that? Remember to, all of that stuff. That's prompting. So they can physically do it, but they need to be told to remember, wash in your private areas. Don't just hop in and let the water hit you and get out, right? They need to be reminded of how one takes a shower. That's prompting. Okay, that's very important to know the language because they will reject giving you extra money if you don't use the right language. All right. Da, da, da. Also, there are senior complexes. And so, like in Colorado, and I'm sure this is true in other places, we had senior complexes where you had to be 55 years old or older, and they were owned condos. So one could purchase them if they were 55 years or older. That person could have a grandkid living with them. The primary person just had to be 55 years or older.
Right.
They had on-site pools and recreation centers and activities. Like one of the places, they had their own theater, and Patti LaBelle had come through there like a week or two before we went to visit, right? And stuff like that. So these places are really cool places, but they have nurse practitioners on staff. So if your parent has some kind of medical emergency at some odd hour, there's nurse practitioners on staff to fill in the gap.
Right.
All right, to fill in the gap. And they also will do wellness checks as often as you want.
Yeah, they had a lot of things on the properties themselves: stores,
restaurants, pool,
cleaning services,
gyms.
It's pretty big complex.
Exercise classes.
Yeah.
What you want it was like a resort. Okay. And so these places exist. And guess what, folks? We were going to be able, Gloria said, so we didn't end up buying, but we were going to be able to buy a condo there for pennies on the dollar compared to what a condo outside of that complex cost.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for instance, at the time, we were going to be able to buy a 1-bedroom condo for like, when we first started checking, it was like 90,000. And this was like in 2018, 2019, something like that. And then we checked the next time, it was up to like 120.
Yeah, I was going to say in the one.
Yeah, like 120, when all the other 1-bedrooms were like 200 outside of the complex. Okay, so that just gives you some context on how much those costs are. All right. Do they own their own home? Be it condo or single living or single family? And if they do, what's going to happen with that? And if you believe that because of history, because of your family history, that they're going to need Medicaid, right? They're going to need long-term care, and they did not prepare for that, you need to decide right now as a family what you're going to do with that home. Because depending upon what state you live in, they're going to look back. Like if you want help, government help,
yeah,
they're going to say, well, wait, you just transferred that house into your name 3 months ago.
Yeah.
To miss me with that. Oh, no.
They're going to recoup their money. They're going to get their money. Everything that they paid out, they're going to get back.
So in California, they look back 5 years. In Colorado, let's just say you've got a couple, right? You've got your mom and your dad, and maybe only your mom needs the help, the Medicaid help, right? They'll say, okay. So she goes into assisted living or a nursing home because dad is unable to do it by himself, right? And it's too expensive to hire someone to come into the home, which is ridiculous. It should be less expensive to hire someone to come into the home than it is for us to provide outside of the home. But
yeah,
that's too much like right. So in Colorado, how it works is, so dad can stay in that house as long as he's living. But once he transitions on and or has to go into assisted living and can no longer live on his own, that house has to be sold and the money goes to the state.
They get their money back.
The money goes to the state. So really, they're not helping. They're not helping. All those tax dollars that we paid into they're going to recoup that. It's like, oh yeah, you paid your tax dollars. That was just a loan. We will advance you that money until them people die, and then we want our money back. That's how it works in Colorado. Check your state laws and see how it works. It works differently state to state to state to state. And then, so you want to understand what government resources are available and what is the criteria at different states to state. High tax states tend to have better benefits. They don't take your house in California. They do take your house in Colorado. Okay. So it differs state to state. So I said that some states will take your home. Said that the process of wading through the bureaucracy can be daunting.
Oh God. I mean,
You want to do as much,
especially if you're overseas.
right? So you want to do as much as you can right now. Do not wait. Start, like, if your parents don't need the help right now, start identifying who you know in the system. All of us watching know someone who is working in the system or know someone who knows someone who's working in the system, because the government we are overrepresented representative in government jobs. People of color are overrepresented in government jobs, which is why they want to make government small. It's all about racism. It's all about racism, y'all. It's all about racism. Yes, it is. It is. All right. So that said, we know someone. We know someone, and help them. I mean, get in contact with them today so that they can help you navigate the system. I was not told when I was waiting on hold for hours and hours and hours, right? I was waiting on hold. I was not told so many things that could have helped me get the care for my dad until my mom connected me with an old friend of hers who used to work for the county. Mm-hmm. And she told me all the tricks. I'm like, where is this written? She's like, this stuff is not written down. It's not written down because they don't want folks to know.
Having that inside track is they're worth their weight in gold.
In gold.
Because they know the corners. They know the ins and outs.
So we went from having to provide, Rick and I, having to provide $2,000 per month to having to provide zero, just by her telling us a couple of things that we did not know. And they did not offer that information. Okay. So find someone today. Start looking for that person today. Set up local support system and utilize technology. You want to maintain those relationships.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, we're not in the Star Trek days, but I guess we kind of are, because, I set up an iPad for my mom so that we could have video calls. I made sure that the place that my dad was in today, and now my mom is there as well, that she had a smartphone. The person who is the major caretaker there, she's got a smartphone. She does FaceTime, and we can FaceTime on a regular basis so that we maintain that relationship. Also, so you want to use technology to help maintain that relationship. The other thing that you want to do today is start setting up family and friends who are going to help you with this. Who's going to be your support system? If there is a 911 emergency call to you and it's 2:00 in the morning where you are, right? Who is that person on the ground, that trusted family member, loved one, etc.? Right. You'll play mama, you'll play auntie, you'll play cousin. Who is that person you can call on who will help you with this? Okay. So get those relationships and expectations together now. Don't wait. We moved my dad from Colorado back to California before we left for those reasons, because the majority of our family and family friends are in Southern California. I did not know how much better the California benefits were until I called, and they're like, oh, you're going to be happy to hear this. This was Kaiser. You're going to be happy to hear this because he gets this, and this, which Kaiser, Colorado does not offer. Who knew? I'm not a Kaiser fan, but that's what my parents wanted, so that's what I allowed. I also talked to my mom's pastor, right? So if your family goes to a church, talk to your pastor, talk to their pastor about picking them up from the assisted living every once in a while to take them to church, or having somebody from the church go pick them up to take them to the church. That's what I have for my mom. The other thing is pastors know, if they're good, they know the community. So they may be able to help you with who is that person who works for the county social services, right? Who is that person who has an assisted living home, who may have some space, et cetera, et cetera. Because a nursing home in general, like in Southern California, was starting at about $4,000 to $5,000 a month per month. And those were places that I was like,
I mean, going up to 9.
Yeah, 9,000, up to $9,000 a month. All right. And so it was the pastor who actually helped us find the place that my dad went to. It was my mom's pastor that my dad went to, and that ultimately my mom went to. And whereas we were going to have to pay $5,000 a month just for my dad, now we pay $5,000 a month for the two of them. And then Medicaid picks up the rest. Right. So you want to set up a schedule so that you can check on them on a regular basis with wherever the places are that you are looking, that you are identifying as possible places to place your parents. Talk to them about about technology and what your expectations are. Don't assume. Do not assume. And then say, well, I'm going to be 8 hours, 7 hours, 5 hours ahead. Is it possible to talk to them at these points in the day? If you're going to work remotely, you might not have the same flexibility. So, I guess that's what we have.
That's what we have. Yeah,
so prepare financially and medically how to manage their stuff. As far as financially, like I said, we put my name on every single one of their utility bills. I got access. I didn't put my name because I don't want.
Yeah, you don't want anybody coming back after you saying you're responsible for it.
Right, because I'm not responsible. And putting your name on their bank account does not make you responsible for their bills. Like my mom was bad with money. She had some credit card debt and stuff. I refuse to pay that. I refuse to pay. It's like, you have enough money to take care of you today. And it's not my responsibility to pay yesterday's debt. That is not my responsibility. And I'm not doing it. I don't care if your credit score is 200. I don't care.
Well, she ain't gonna God.
She's
not using it for anything.
Exactly. So I don't care. Like Wells Fargo can take the $3,000 hit on the credit card that you ran up, that they allowed you to do when they knew you was only getting this amount of money. So that's a no. That's a no, right? But I put my name on their bank accounts, but then I just got online access to all of their utility bills, their car insurance, their house insurance, all of that stuff, so that you can make sure that it's all being taken care of. All right. And so that's what you want to do. Day-to-day living situation, we talked about that, how they're going to age in place or not, make preparations for that. And then lastly, set up your local support system and utilize technology.
Yeah.
So that's what we have for you. And if you want more, you know what you can do. You can book a call with us. That information is in the description below. If Portugal is the place that you may want to move to, we are selling the replays to our latest summit. And if you were there this year and last year, tell us what you think. We've already heard from some people that it was an amazing second year. It was just as good, if not better, than the first year. So you want to buy those replays. That is in the description below. If Portugal's not the place, we are selling the replay tickets to Exodus Summit for Black women. That is in the description below. And if you need help with your money, Beyond the Bling is our financial independence course for late bloomers. We can get you retired as soon as possible, even if you have no money saved. Okay? This is the key to freedom. This is the key to freedom. Financial freedom is freedom. Let me tell y'all.
Yeah.
Do you feel free?
I feel free.
All right. All
I
right.
feel free.
Exactly.
Action, you feel free.
Exactly. And so we see y'all in the chat. Michelle, Valerina, Michelle, Karen, Louise, Love Heart Connection. Who else? Truno, Placido. Oh, that's a new name. Daniel. We see
Hey, Daniel.
all of you, Kimmy, et cetera, et cetera. We love you guys, and we will see you on Sunday.
Just remember, this project 2025 is no joke.
It's
And
no
it's going to
joke.
restructure a whole lot of things because they want to put the cost on the people and not on the government.
Right. Exactly. And that's been the key to the Republican platform since 1972. It's a shame that our country does not have critical thinking skills, and or are too busy working to pay attention as if it's not going to affect them. And that's a sad reality, but it is what it is. And so on Sunday, we are going to talk about now what? What are the signs that it's getting badder than bad, and how you need to get out? And, we're going to go through all of the signs so that you can identify them as they're coming. As we said, it's not going to happen overnight. So you have a little bit of time. And when I say a little bit of time, I mean less than a year. You've got a little bit of time before some of these things can get enacted, because it takes time to do stuff, right?
But you got to put everything in motion.
But you need to be putting things in motion now. And so we're going to talk about that on Sunday. We love y'all. I wish that we were celebrating. And I suppose that the other side would be saying the same thing. That the only difference is that the policies that were espoused by the Harris-Walz team would have benefited everyone. And the policies that are espoused by this team are only going to benefit the Elon Musks of the world. And why someone with a $1 billion government contract is allowed to participate in a campaign is beyond me.
Yeah.
That should be illegal. But this is where we've come to because nobody's paying attention. And with that, good luck and good night.